it every morning. That voice, the one that says you're not ready, not strong enough. It begs you to stay in bed, to skip the workout, to avoid the hard conversation. And the worst part? You listen. You've listened for so long you don't even notice it anymore. But every time you do, a part of you dies. You become weaker, smaller. That voice isn't protecting you. It is the enemy. And today, we are going to silence it. Here's what most men don't realize. That voice has been running your life for years. It speaks in the morning when the alarm goes off. It whispers when you think about asking for that raise. It screams when you consider starting that business, ending that relationship, or taking that risk. And it's always the same message. You're not ready. You're not good enough. Stay safe, stay small, stay comfortable, and you obey. Not because you're weak, not because you lack discipline, not because you're broken, but because that voice sounds like you. It uses your thoughts, your fears, your doubts. It knows exactly what to say to keep you stuck. And the longer you listen, the stronger it gets. Until one day you wake up and realize you've been living someone else's life. A smaller version, a safer version. A version where you never took the shot because the voice convinced you it wasn't worth it. You feel it in your body, that tightness in your chest when you think about doing something hard, that knot in your stomach when you imagine putting yourself out there. That's not intuition, that's not wisdom, that's fear dressed up as reason, and it's been convincing you to play small your entire life. Seneca warned about this 2,000 years ago. He said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Think about that. Most of your suffering hasn't even happened yet. That voice, it's making you suffer for failures that haven't occurred, for rejections you haven't faced, for pain you haven't felt. It's torture by imagination, and you've been living in that prison. Here's what nobody tells you. That voice doesn't care about you. It doesn't want you to be happy. It wants you to be safe. And safe means never growing, never risking, never becoming the man you're capable of being. It would rather see you comfortable and miserable than uncertain and alive. You know what that is. That's not protection, that's sabotage. And it's been running silently in the background of every decision you've made. If you felt this, if that voice spoke to you this week, you already know what I'm talking about. You've heard it. And here's the truth you need to hear. You already have the strength to ignore it. You've done hard things before. You've pushed through fear before. That capacity is still inside you. Right now. So where does this weak voice come from? The Stoics had a name for it. They called it false impressions. Automatic thoughts that feel true but aren't. Marcus Aurelius, facing plague and war and betrayal, wrote this down. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. And he wasn't talking about abstract philosophy. He was talking about this. Right now. When that voice tells you you're not ready. When it convinces you to stay small, that's when your power matters. Not when things are easy, when they're hard. Because here's the truth. That voice isn't you. It's a collection of fears, doubts, and past failures that your mind packaged into a narrative. And that narrative has one job. Keep you from getting hurt. Keep you from failing. Keep you from feeling the pain of rejection or disappointment or loss. And it does that job incredibly well, but there's a cost. You never try, you never grow, you never become. Epictetus, a former slave who became one of history's greatest philosophers, understood this better than anyone. He said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And that weak voice, it's trying to control your reaction before anything even happens. It's pre-rejecting you, pre-failing you, pre-disappointing you, so you never have to face the real thing. And that sounds like protection, but it's prison. Think about the last time you wanted to do something hard. Start that project, have that conversation, make that change. What happened? the voice showed up. It gave you 10 reasons why it wouldn't work, why you weren't ready, why now wasn't the right time. And those reasons sounded so logical, so reasonable, so true. Except they weren't true. They were fear, dressed up as wisdom. And you bought it. But here's what the Stoics knew. That voice only has power if you believe it. The moment you recognize it for what it is, a frightened part of your mind trying to keep you safe, it loses its grip. Because you're not arguing with reality. You're arguing with a story. And stories can be rewritten. So how do you kill it? Not by ignoring it, not by suppressing it, not by pretending it doesn't exist. You kill it by doing the thing it tells you not to do. That's it. That's the entire strategy. The voice says, stay in bed. You get up. The voice says, don't take the risk. You take it anyway. The voice says, you're not ready. You move forward as if you are. Because here's what happens when you do that. The voice gets quieter. Not because it's gone, but because you stopped feeding it. Every time you listen to that voice, you give it power. Every time you choose comfort over courage, you make it stronger. But every time you act, despite the fear, despite the doubt, despite the voice screaming at you to stop, you take that power back. Let's get specific. You wake up tomorrow. The alarm goes off. The voice says 5 more minutes. You have a choice. Listen to it and reinforce the pattern, or get up and prove it wrong. You're at work. The voice says, don't speak up in that meeting. You're not smart enough. They won't listen. You have a choice. Stay silent and validate the fear, or speak up and discover it was lying. You think about going to the gym. The voice says you're too tired. You've had a long day. You deserve rest. You have a choice. Sit on the couch and stay stuck, or put on your shoes and take your power back. The Stoics practiced something called premeditatio malorum, visualizing the worst so it loses its power. What's the worst that happens if you speak up in that meeting? They disagree. They don't listen. They think you're wrong. And then what? You survive. You learn. You move forward. The voice made it sound like death. But it's just discomfort, and you can handle discomfort. This is the battle. Not once, not when you feel motivated. Every single day, every single moment. The voice will always be there. But its volume depends on how often you obey it. And the beautiful thing, you've already won this battle before. You've already faced hard things and pushed through. Every achievement in your life happened because you ignored that voice and did it anyway. That strength is still there. It's always available. You've always had it. You know what happens when you start doing this, when you start moving despite the voice. Something shifts, not immediately, but gradually. You stop asking permission from your fear. You stop negotiating with your doubt. You stop waiting for the voice to quiet down. You just move. And that's when everything changes. Here's the cold truth most men never figure out. The voice isn't stopping you from failure. It's guaranteeing it. Because the only real failure is never trying, never risking, never becoming who you're capable of being. And that's exactly what the voice wants. For you to live small, to stay safe, to never threaten its control. But you weren't built for that. You were built for challenge, for growth, for becoming more than you were yesterday. And deep down, you know that. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Not tomorrow. Not when you feel ready. Not when the voice finally shuts up. Now. Today. In this moment." That's where your power lives. If you're tired of that voice winning, if you're ready to take your life back, acknowledge it. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to be done listening. So what are you going to do with this? Because information without action is just entertainment. And we're not here to be entertained. We're here to become the men we're capable of being. The ones who don't negotiate with weakness, who don't listen to the voice that says stay small, who don't wait for permission or perfect conditions or the fear to disappear. You've always had the power. The Stoics knew it. Every warrior who came before you knew it. And deep down, you know it too. That strength is still there. Right now. In this moment. The question is whether you're going to use it, whether you're going to silence that voice by proving it wrong. Not with words, with action, with choice, with the decision to become more than you were yesterday. The weak voice will speak again tomorrow, and the day after that. But every time you ignore it, every time you move forward despite it, you take back a piece of yourself. And eventually, you stop asking permission from your fear. You stop negotiating with your doubt. You stop waiting for the voice to quiet down. You just move. And that's when everything changes. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're not too late. You're exactly where you need to be, with exactly what you need. The only question is whether you're going to start using it. This is how we're built. Not by listening to weakness, but by forging ourselves in the fire of action despite doubt. If you're ready to silence that voice, type "I'm forged" in the comments. Let us know you're done negotiating, done waiting, done being smaller than you're capable of being. And if this hit you where you needed it, share it with someone who's still listening to that voice. We rise by forging others. Stay forged, brothers.